When humanity first stepped beyond their solar system and made contact with the interstellar community governed by the Galactic Council, the reaction from most alien civilizations was disappointment rather than fear. Because compared with ancient races that had traveled the stars for tens of thousands of years, humans appeared fragile, emotional. Yet what those ancient races did not understand was that humans had evolved on a world where survival itself was a constant battle, a planet full of storms, predators, disease, and conflict where progress came not from perfection, but from relentless adaptation. And so while the galaxy expected humanity to slowly learn from older species, and within only a few decades humanity had created a network of frontier colonies that shocked even the most experienced explorers. But despite their surprising resilience, the Galactic Council still believed humans were harmless newcomers. A biomechanical species later known as the Karnak swarm, creatures that did not negotiate, did not communicate, and did not conquer planets for territory, but instead consumed them entirely, stripping worlds of life, oceans, and even atmospheres to reproduce and grow. And wherever the swarm traveled, entire civilizations vanished without a trace. Their fleets destroyed, and their colonies turned into lifeless stone. And at first, the great powers of the galaxy believed the swarm could easily be stopped because their technology had defeated countless enemies before. Yet every battle ended the same way as the swarm adapted rapidly to every weapon used against them, learning the frequency of energy cannons, the patterns of missile defenses, and even the tactical formations of experienced admirals. And within a few terrifying years, dozens of powerful alien civilizations were forced into retreat while the Karnaks advanced deeper into civilized space, leaving darkness behind them. And eventually, the unstoppable swarm reached the frontier territories of humanity, where the Galactic Council expected humans to evacuate their colonies and surrender those systems as a defensive sacrifice. But humanity refused because surrender was something humans had never truly mastered, and instead the governments of Earth and its colonies united under a single military command, converting mining ships into carriers, cargo transports into missile platforms, and civilian spacecraft into evacuation vessels, while thousands of engineers worked day and night to invent new weapons, capable of defeating an enemy that adapted to everything. And when the first Karnak's fleets finally entered human territory expecting another easy victory, they instead encountered something the swarm had never faced before. A species willing to fight without predictable strategy, because human fleets did not rely on perfect formations or rigid doctrine like older civilizations. They fought chaotically, splitting apart into small squadrons, using asteroids as cover, launching surprise attacks from hidden positions, and even sacrificing their own ships to destroy enemy vessels if necessary. And the aliens observing these battles from afar were horrified and fascinated at the same time, because humans seemed to treat warfare less like a mathematical exercise and more like a desperate struggle for survival where creativity mattered more than tradition. And although humanity lost many ships during the first months of the war, they also achieved something no other civilization had managed before. They slowed the swarm, and while those battles raged, human scientists discovered a critical weakness within the Karnak's biological control systems, realizing that each ship was partially alive and directed by neural networks rather than purely mechanical computers. So instead of simply building bigger weapons, humans designed something far more unusual: a targeted biodisruption pulse capable of shutting down the living components of Karnak's vessels without needing to destroy the entire ship. And when the weapon was finally tested in battle, the result shocked the galaxy as dozens of Karnak's ships suddenly drifted lifeless through space, their biological cores neutralized instantly, proving that the swarm could indeed be defeated. And news of this discovery spread across the Galactic Council like wildfire, inspiring other civilizations to join humanity's resistance effort. Yet even with this advantage, the war lasted for years, because the swarm was enormous, spreading across thousands of systems like a living storm. But slowly and painfully, the combined fleets of humanity and its allies began pushing the Karnaks back, until the final confrontation occurred near a dying star system later known as the Helios Rift, where the swarm gathered the largest fleet ever recorded, thousands of living warships preparing for one last overwhelming assault. And humanity responded by assembling every ship it could possibly deploy from across its colonies: warships, freighters, research vessels, mining platforms, even outdated ships that had been retired decades earlier, forming a chaotic armada unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. And as the two forces approached each other, the alien observers expected the human fleet to collapse quickly, under the massive numbers of the swarm. Yet something extraordinary happened instead as human. Pilots fought with relentless determination. Damaged ships continued firing even after losing engines. Crippled cruisers rammed enemy vessels to protect their allies. And volunteers from dozens of colonies defended systems that were not even their home worlds, simply because they believed the survival of the entire galaxy was worth the sacrifice. And hour after hour, the battle continued with explosions lighting the darkness of space, like artificial stars, until finally the swarm's central command vessels were destroyed by a coordinated human assault using the new biodisruption weapons, and with their neural network shattered the Karniks. Fleet fell into chaos and scattered across deep space, ending the war that had nearly consumed the galaxy. And when the surviving civilizations of the Galactic Council later gathered to discuss the outcome, they no longer spoke of humanity as a fragile newcomer, but as a species that had changed the balance of power across the stars. Because humans had proven something that no ancient civilization had fully understood before. That strength alone does not guarantee survival, nor does technology or age, but determination, creativity, and the refusal to surrender can overcome even the most terrifying enemy. And from that day forward, every alien civilization remembered a simple lesson whenever they looked toward human space. Humans might appear reckless, emotional, and unpredictable, but when the darkness of the universe begins to close in and hope seems almost gone, there is no ally more dangerous to your enemies than humanity.